Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. I'm your co-host, John Alexander Reese.
And I'm your host, Andrea Carter.
And if you did not know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and Northern Kentucky area. How's it going, Andrea?
It's going fine, John. I have gotten a great start off to the week. I've had my first barbecue of the summer, so I am on a rib high and collard green high. I'm very, very, very happy. The grill master that I talked to got plenty of his secrets, so I'm about to try them out on a couple of things that I'm going to make this summer. So I am very happy from a cook perspective.
All
So.
right, that's great. What's the chocolate news of the week?
The chocolate league, it's very interesting that, we've heard about Paycor and the rehab and everything that's been going on. Well, the rehab is now underway, and that the Hamilton County is selling the used televisions that were in Paycor Stadium because they're upgrading, and they're going to go on sale on June 1st, actually this Saturday coming out. And they are working to remove them from the walls, and they're going to go between $30 and $60. And being up on the wall, they're probably in very good use.
Hmm.
So I know it's going to be a first come first served basis. Um, they have 200 to sell. That's that's a lot. Those are some nice sized TVs. They got the small ones, the big ones. So especially the ones that were in the suites. So they're pretty good. And then the ones that were around the stadium, so everyone could see the balls or the stats or whatever.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's some size TVs that are going to be on sale. And all they have to do, everyone has to go to gate D on the day of the sale on the plaza off of Elm Street, and the sale's going to be between 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. How much you want to bet they're going to be sold out before noon?
Oh, most likely. I'm definitely going to get down there early and get one.
they
I'll leave
they
at
have
5 a.m. and stand in line if I have to.
oh yeah, they say that they're gently used. But they
Gotcha.
want everyone to pay in cash, and they will purchase. They have to purchase a universal remote because I'm sure they don't have that. And but other than that, it's going to be first come first serve, no limits, no returns.
Gotcha.
So that's going to be interesting to see what happens. But everyone wants a piece of the old Paul Brown Stadium slash Paycor Stadium. So a great way to have a piece of memorabilia. So that's for all those bingo fans, they'll probably get a TV. So there's that. But then an interesting thing happened last Thursday that I don't think anyone realized what occurred. Governor Bashir, and you know how contentious his state legislature is about anything that he does. They're always trying to snub or do away with. He signed two executive orders to honor Black history and protect natural hairstyle, especially Blackfoot wear. He signed a law, a state executive order making sure that Juneteenth is a holiday in the state of Kentucky, and he signed the legislation that mirrors the federal Crown Act protecting natural hairstyles. He basically wants to protect Black history. He wants to protect the people in the state of Kentucky. He recognizes that, Kentucky is a very Republican state and they do a lot of dirt. And but the Black Kentuckians have a right to honor and wear their hair the way they want it to. And they should not be discriminated against because they wear their hair differently. So now he has protected them. And Kentucky joins, it is the 29th state in the Union to have such an act, recognize Juneteenth and the Crown Act. So congratulations to Kentucky. Well done, Governor Bashir. Speaking of acts, how do we talk about P. Diddy?
Oh Lord.
Um,
Oh God.
I mean, he's in deep trouble. And I had a conversation about him today with a colleague, and he said P. Diddy didn't learn how to pay people to keep his dirt quiet. That's usually when all of this is coming out because he got too big for his britches. And now there's the federal grand jury that's about to hear the lawsuit, hear the people named in the lawsuit, and any other witness they can get their hands on for a possible grand jury indictment. We don't know what the case is they're looking at, but there's all kinds of stuff where he's accused of drug dealing, gun trafficking, human trafficking, all kinds of stuff. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens. There are two sources familiar with the probe. It's on CNN who confirmed this, and the Justice Department is being very, very serious. They have already raided his house. I'm surprised they didn't ground his plane. They've gotten got one guy who's accused of being a drug dealer, that was worked on his staff. So it's interesting. And on top of that, Combs has been named, his given name is Sean Combs. I should let everybody know who's listening to this. He's been named in 8 civil lawsuits since November.
Mm.
7 directly accusing him of sexual assault. And we saw that video, what he did to his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Again, he's still alleged until proven guilty. So, but it does not look good for him, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, again, we play a waiting game and see what happens, and just, I guess, hold your nose and see what happens.
I guess. But also, let me add, if you hadn't read the Rolling Stone came out with an article about P. Diddy, and it's a long read, but it's definitely eye-opening too. So definitely check that out when you can.
Well, you know what? If everyone is coming out with something, I read that article when we first talked about P. Diddy and that lawsuit.
Right.
And that lawsuit was naming people left and right. And I was learning stuff from that lawsuit. And now I'm gonna have to read the Rolling Stone article because I heard about it, you told me about it, and I haven't had a chance to read it. But I mean, it's messy.
Yeah.
And for a guy who's appeared in movie, TV, he's a rap star. He's built up his business with fashion and liquor. It's kind of sad that behind the scenes, he still could not leave his background behind with
Yeah.
all the success that he's had. But everyone has to live their life and do what they do. So
Hmm.
it's kind of sad. Then I want to alert everyone, there's an article out on a number of TV stations have had this, and we've heard about. Remember the fire that occurred at the Hamilton building, the Hamilton, I think it's Hamilton North condominiums. That
Yeah.
there you get to it, you come to it before you get to the 6 acres bed and breakfast, and then
Right.
before you get up the hill, you see the Twin Towers nursing home, and then move on to they're like right at the beginning of the hill before you get to College Hill. Well, remember that fire? They had 2 fires. One was fatal, one was not.
Yeah.
And they have rehabbing the building ever since. The residents of that building have filed a lawsuit against the condo board because the condo board, in the rehabbing the building, they want to put in this fire suppress system. But they want to force everybody out of the building. They can rehab it, put in this fire suppress system in every single unit, and then have everybody come back. And there are people, they don't have any place to go. Some people are, before this court order temporary stopping this order to move out, people are up in airs because they're like, this is the only home they have. They can't afford to pay for 2 homes. And some people don't want the fire suppression system. Some people do. So it's a big mess.
Hmm.
So, it's one of those things that happens when you have an HOA that helps run the building and they make decisions on behalf of the residents. Sometimes the residents don't like what they do. But when you pay into that, it's a whole big issue. So it's something that we're going to have to watch. There's a lot of elderly people in that building that own those condos, and we just have to watch because not everyone can afford 2 homes.
Yeah.
And in fact, I know someone who lives in that building, and there have been a few people who said that if they're forced to leave, they're not coming back. So it's be interesting to see what happens with that. So there are a number of resident owners, I should say, in the building who are who are black and condos in that building, and they bought into that building for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's a nice building,
Oh
but
yeah.
anyway, going on, the Democrats in Ohio about Governor DeWine calling the state legislature back to vote about putting Biden on the ballot because of timing. The Democratic convention happens after when everyone needs to submit their paperwork to be on the ballot for the November election in Ohio. And Biden was going to miss that because he has been nominated. But the Democrats in Ohio have found a way to nominate Joe Biden to be on the Ohio ballot by doing it virtually. The Biden campaign was going to make this announcement today, to put this path so Joe Biden could be on the ballot in November. A lot of people don't like it. Republicans are mad at DeWine for calling back the state legislature for this vote, but you have to be fair. You can't, you have to be fair to the voters in the state of Ohio. Some Republicans don't see it that way of being fair, but it is one of those things of where the convention is August 19th. The Ohio's deadline to be on the ballot is August 7th. So they found a workaround. So we'll see what happens and what the outcome will be. So just keep that in mind.
Right.
But also mentioning Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were in Philadelphia today to release their new strategy to attract Black voters to the campaign, because there is definitely a divide between those who are slightly favoring Trump over Biden. Again, another conversation I've had about this, and we're going to get into that with in a few weeks, about the difference between younger voters and older voters, and what Biden is going to do to try to attract them to think their way instead of Trump.
Hmm.
So that's what's going on. So we'll get more into that, but just an update. And speaking of Trump, the lawyers today in his money trial has gone to the jury, and the jury deliberated this afternoon. They ended today. They'll be back at the deliberation tomorrow. We'll see what happens. They've already asked for a couple of to rehear parts of testimony by a few witnesses, and so we'll get what happens and how long they're going to deliberate. It's up in the air. Everyone's watching. So there's that. And finally, some good news, which is fantastic. The Major League Baseball is now going to incorporate the Negro League stats into the Major League stats, recognizing the 2,300 players that played along with Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb. And they are going to be part of the overall steps for the MLB. They
Finally.
made this historic step to rectify a long-standing oversight by ignoring the Negro League, recognizing them, and some of the Negro League players play better than MLB players,
Oh
and so
yeah.
they're finally getting their due, which I think is fantastic. It's too long. They should have done this a long, long, long time ago, but now we'll be able to find the stats along the MLB stats, and it's a way to honor what Jackie Robinson started. It's a way to honor that we want our young kids to participate in baseball if they want to, and recognize all the success that there was both in Major League Baseball and the Negro League. And that is the chocolate news that we have for today.
All right. Thank you, Andrea. And actually, Andrea, we have two guests with us today. So would you like to introduce them?
We have Joy Dillard, who is the president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Sigma Omega chapter. And we have Shelly Sherman, who is the chairman of the Centennial Luncheon that Sigma Omega is going to be hosting in a couple of weeks in June, in honor of Sigma Omega's 100th anniversary. Thank you, Joya. Thank you, Shelly, for being here today.
Good evening. Evening. It's our pleasure.
Oh, I do have to admit that I am a member of Sigma Omega. So it is very honored to have my source on this show to help talk about Sigma Omega. First off, Joy, can you give us a little history about Sigma Omega and why we're celebrating the centennial?
Yes. So, again, good evening. So, our chapter, Sigma Omega, was chartered December 18th, 1924, by 7 phenomenal women. We have a rich, rich history here in the local Cincinnati area where we have served again for 100 years, which we'll talk a little bit about, especially when we're celebrating our centennial. We're talking a little bit about some of the events that we're doing throughout this year, but also mainly talking about our Centennial Luncheon. We've been very fortunate to have two former international presidents. We've also had several of our members serve on a local and regional and international level. So that says a lot about what we do in our service and the fact that how much we actually love Alpha Kappa Alpha. In addition, we also supervise 3 undergraduate chapters. So we do a lot. Our first undergraduate chapter that we supervise is Omicron chapter, which actually they're actually celebrating this year their 103rd anniversary. And then we also have Lambda Mu, which is at Miami University. And so they were chartered, this is year 46 for Lambda Mu. And then Rosai, which was chartered December 11th, 1999. And a lot of work within the city is coordinated and it is directed by our national president, which is Danette Anthony Reed. So a lot of the programming initiatives that we do have are under several different initiatives that we do have. So that falls under our Empower Our Families, Build Our Economic Wealth, Enhance Our Environment, Advocate for Social Justice, and Uplift Our Local Community. And our overall bigger initiative that we're focusing on for these 4 years is strengthening our sisterhood. We want to make sure that we are making sure that we're holding our sisters tight. We're making sure that they are well. We're talking about health. We're making sure that we are definitely thinking about our family structures, but also focusing, since this month is Mental Health Month, this is a shameless plug, we do have a program happening tomorrow on mental health. So we just want to make sure that we are also providing that service to each and everyone in the city, but also making sure that, you know, people are involved and are getting involved into the things that we do.
I would say the biggest thing about being a member of Sigma Omega isn't about leadership, or is it about the fact that we're dedicated to the community? What makes a Sigma Omega woman and be a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha?
Well, I think it's everything. I think it's about the sisterhood, about being our sister's keeper. But I also think it about, because one of our main things is service to all mankind. And so it's about getting out there and providing that service. But also, we're not only providing that service out to the community, but we're also providing that service to our members as well. And so we want to make sure that we're making sure that whatever they need, as far as their lives, because I always say, for me, and thinking about my career, my aspirations, I always say that my leadership development was enhanced by being a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. I say it's the best leadership the best leadership development ever, because what I learned in Alpha Kappa Alpha I use it in any industry that I'm in, and I've been in many, many industries, but anything that I've probably learned in another organization or any other industry does not necessarily transfer over to Alpha Kappa Alpha. So I've been able to network. I've been able to do many things. I've been able to get jobs. So I think it's just a lot about what we do, how we interact with each other, but also, again, how we make sure that we're serving the community and working together and having fun. I think that's the biggest thing about it, is making sure that anytime that we're doing any of the community service, also we're serious about the business. At the same time, we also want to make sure that we're having fun.
I think even though there's been what we call the Kamala effect,
Mm-hmm.
on not just Alpha Kappa Alpha, but all sororities, seeing a resurgence of women wanting to become members of a Greek organization. But
Mm-hmm.
Sigma Omega alone has had a number of leaders that have not only been members of Sigma, but worked in other organizations around the city,
Mm-hmm.
that have been effective and recognized through scholarship, through statues, through other recognition overall. Especially the Cincinnati Enquire's Women of the Year out of the 50-year history. I think we had about 12 to 15 of our members recognized over the years.
That is correct.
And who is our most famous members, if people would recognize?
Are we talking about Cincinnati, or are we talking about?
I'm just talking about Cincinnati for Sigma Omega alone. I mean, we could go national, but I'm just saying for Cincinnati, recognize the significance of what it means to be a member of Sigma Omega and the leadership and training that we develop and learn from AKA has transferred into these results, which is.
So if we're talking about famous and we're talking about Sigma Omega members, or we're just talking about overall in the city?
Overall in the
I
city.
just want to make sure. So some famous members that we can talk about, or that everybody knows, is Marion Spencer. We have, Ira Brown was on the symphony orchestra board. Georgia Beasley.
Yes.
Nobody really talks about Georgia, but Georgia
No.
did a lot in the city of Cincinnati. Let's see. We know that Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Kearney, famous
Yes.
AKA in the city.
and I mean, also there was Mamie Sells, who has a
Yeah,
scholarship.
Mamie Sells, yes, which we also actually have a scholarship that we donate to each year.
Well, we have our interim Cincinnati School Board.
Oh, now, yes.
Recently named. Shauna Murphy is a member of our chapter as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get her on once she gets settled into her position. I'm gonna try and have her on the podcast so we can talk to her about education in Cincinnati and the hope for the future for CPS. So, that being said, celebrating Sigma Omega was done a lot for the city. What does this mean for the luncheon, Shelly?
So the luncheon, Andria, is part of the kickoff weekend. So we've had a very, very busy year in Sigma Omega. We just came off of a very successful Great Lakes Regional Conference, the 90th Great Lakes Regional Conference that was held here in March, and that generated $7 million for the economy for the Cincinnati area. And so we are kicking off our weekend of celebration in June. And so we will have a service the day before the luncheon, but on June the 22nd, we will host, in collaboration with our foundation, which is the Lateria Dalton Foundation, we will host a Centennial Luncheon. And this is really a time of celebration that Sigma Omega can celebrate with the community, with many of the community partners that we've worked with in these 100 years. We have a number that we've worked very closely with over the last 100 years. And so this is just a great time of celebration. We want to make sure that we have a number of the community, not just for Alpha Kappa Alpha members or Sigma Omega members in attendance, but the community in attendance. Most people are probably, especially in the African American community, are probably fairly familiar with the work that we have done. But if they're not, this is a great time to talk about that. Our guest speaker will be, and as you heard our president mention, Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and she will be our keynote speaker. We will have things like a living museum. So we will have an actor act out some of the things that we have done over the years, and have in that type of artistic format for people to learn about. We will talk about some of the community partnerships that we've had over the course of the years and what we've done. For example, we've been involved with the Black Family Reunion since its inception here in Greater Cincinnati. And so there's lots of things to talk about. We want to share what we've done with the community for those who may not know. And for those who do know, just have time to celebrate it. Also, one of the things that Alpha Kappa Alpha is so entrenched in is scholarship. And so what we will do, the proceeds of this luncheon will go to the scholarship fund. And this year, because we are celebrating our centennial, we are looking to award $100,000 in scholarship monies to deserving young people. And so proceeds from this luncheon will help us do that. So in listening, if you need tickets, we are certainly happy to do that, to sell tickets. And we look forward to seeing you at the luncheon.
Where can people find the tickets?
So the tickets, you can go on our website And there is a QR code to purchase tickets on our website or any of our social media outlets.
And that's Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram, Facebook, Instagram and Facebook. Did I miss anything?
We don't have a X or Twitter account.
We have a Twitter account, right, Joya?
We don't utilize that much, so you can definitely find it on Facebook or Instagram. We're highly active on those two accounts.
Okay. Okay. Because I know, I mean, we've had some other things happening overall but I mean, this is the highlight of, and then going forward, what else do the people have to look forward to as we continue celebrating after the luncheon? Is there anything else planned for the rest of the year that you know of or aware of?
Sure. So again, the luncheon, that's the kickoff weekend. And in December, we always host a gala, an evening of elegance gala. Proceeds from that do also our scholarship, our scholarship fund. And so we hope to see people the first Saturday of December for our evening of elegance gala. Again, that's an annual event. We always do that. And we just had a walkathon. So sorry that we weren't on here earlier to be able to talk about walkathon, which was greatly so we were very happy with the turnout that we got there. Again, one of our fundraisers where proceeds go to the scholarship fund. And we will be a part of the Black Family Reunion Parade. So folks will get to folks and interact with the community there. And what am I missing, Joya?
Well, I was going to say also too, if the listeners, if they do have any children, if they come to the Black Family Reunion, we host the Children's Pavilion. We've been doing that from the inception of the Black Family Reunion here in Cincinnati. And so we have a real good treat for the children that come to the area. We're going to, from what I know and what I've heard, we're going to be in Yateman's Cove. So we have a bigger area this year, but we'll have, face painting, we'll have some other items, we'll have raffles and so forth. And so we really want to make sure that anything also that we do, because we're also a lot of the foundations that we've had, especially with the chapter, are from educators. And so we just want to make sure that we are providing also the main service at BFR for the children. So we highly encourage you to bring your children down to see us on that Saturday and Sunday.
Are we going to have anything at our table at that activity, the Black Family Union, anything to do with our social justice aspect of it, encouraging people to register to vote or things like that?
Yes, we will have something around that. And we will also, because one of the great things about the Children's Pavilion is that we do advocate and teach children how to, we have like a mock voting registration. So it shows them how to cast their votes and so forth. So we'll have something around there for the children, but also have information about registration.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's a fabulous weekend. I can tell you the walk-a-thon, I personally walked, so I know it was fun. I got to stretch my legs a little bit. And I'm looking for anything else that's going to happen. And thank you again for coming on. And, as we get closer to some other stuff that's going to happen, we'll have you back on to talk about more of what's happening with Sigma Omega going on. So thank you so very much for being here today.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting us.
John?
Yeah, thanks for all the info about the event. And it sounds like it's going to be a lovely event. So best of luck with the event. In 100 years, that's simply amazing. It really is.
It is. There's a lot, and I would say that it has been a nice walk through history. That we have. Sigma Omega had an exhibit at the One Hills Branch Library earlier in the year. I think we're gonna have an exhibit at our national convention in July. Or is that
We
August?
will.
Right. Yeah.
And as well to show that what we've accomplished in the last 100 years, and then going forward, what we're going to do next. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next in the next 100 years of what Sigma does. So it's very happy and very excited, and thank you again for being on here.
Well, thank you. And Andrea, we know we'll see you at the luncheon. we hope that we'll see you too, John. Maybe have to let you bring some
I
friends.
mean, I mean, you know what? It's like maybe you never know.
You should join us and bring
Yes,
some
you should.
friends.
Well,
Yeah,
since
yeah,
If Jan Michelle's speaking, maybe she'll buy a table. So
yeah. So yeah, it's certainly possible.
I know I have my ticket, so
We know you do.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. So, um, John,
Okay. Yep. Well, thank you, Andrea. And that's it for today's show. And I want to thank Andrea again for all the good chocolate news. Thank you, Andrea.
thank you.
And remember, folks, you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.cincinnatiherald.com, the Sesh newsletter, or in our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. Our podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Amazon, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. I'm John Alexander Reese,
And I'm Andrea Carter.
and have a good day.